There's one practical thing that Democrats can do right now that would help them regain power. It's never speak to Trump in person. No, I'm kidding. That's stupid. No, it's this. Inspire your moderates to vote in the primaries. Get that base excited. You have the numbers. After Congressman Moulton made his comment about his daughter not getting run over, he added, "But as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that." Well, then change what you're supposed to be afraid.
The Democratic Party is in disarray, and Bill Maher isn't pulling any punches. You might expect him to show sympathy for a party adrift without leadership, vision, or message, but instead, he's torching them. On Real Time with Bill Maher, the sharp-tongued host unleashed a brutal takedown of AOC and the Democrats for refusing to learn from their last crushing defeat. It wasn't just criticism, it was pure fire. Let's dive in.
The time. Why haven't you ever had Hillary or Bill Clinton on? Why didn't you have Kamala on during the last campaign? You think we don't ask? We ask these people every week. They say no. It took 8 years and a petition to get Obama on. And these are people, all people I voted for. Think about that. They're afraid to come on the show of a guy who voted for.
Maher opened by reflecting on his long loyalty to the Democrats, his vote, his money, his influence, only to be sidelined by the very party he supported for decades. Despite being one of their strongest cultural allies, they consistently avoid his platform. He's invited them again and again to appear on Real Time, yet they never show. Why? Because they're terrified of tough questions and too fragile to defend their positions against real counter-arguments. Instead of embracing open debate, they retreat into echo chambers, proving Maher's point that the left has grown soft, insecure, and intellectually lazy. But what about the Republicans? Are they just as afraid?
They show up. And when they do, they take their beating like a man. He went down to Mar-a-Lago and kissed his ass after that.
Oh, bullshit.
When the Mueller report came out, I feel like you mischaracterized it, and I feel that was shady. But you campaigned for election deniers in 2022. This I do not forgive. The Republicans, including you, January 6th, etc., are the ones who are no longer willing to play by the rules of democracy. Amendment 22, no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. And yet you keep talking about Trump's maybe you should have this. Here,
Republicans, of course, have had their share of missteps, sometimes sharp comebacks, sometimes clumsy ones that left Maher grinning. But that isn't the point. The real difference is that win or lose, they actually show up. They sit across from Maher, take the heat, and engage in debate, even when their arguments fall flat. That willingness to step into the ring, knowing they could stumble, shows grit and accountability. Unlike their Democratic counterparts, they don't hide behind safe spaces. They face the fire, and that in itself speaks volumes.
AOC on the show, and Mandami and Elizabeth Warren. But I can't subpoena the guests. And I can't fix that what the Democrats are scared of more than anything else, I mean, obviously besides gluten, is being primaried from the far left, even though most Democrats are not far left. They're mild-mannered and moderate, at least at my bathhouse.
It's no secret the far left is steering the so-called woke agenda. But what's alarming is how much louder and more influential they've become than the Democratic Party itself. Rather than standing firm, the party caves, bending to every extreme demand. The result? A spineless DNC more worried about appeasing activists than leading the American people. What Democrats desperately need isn't another figurehead bowing to the mob, but a leader with the courage to finally say enough and push back against this takeover.
One practical thing that Democrats can do right now that would help them regain power, it's never speak to Trump in person. No, I'm kidding. That's stupid. No, it's this. Inspire your moderates to vote in the primaries. Get that base excited. You have the numbers. After Congressman Moulton made his comment about his daughter not getting run over, he added, "But as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that." Well, then change what you're supposed to be afraid of.
Bill Maher couldn't be more right. In recent years, moderates who once proudly wore the Democratic label have quietly drifted to the center, or even the right. Many of them would gladly return if the party distanced itself from the ideological grip of the far left. Instead, the DNC walks on eggshells, terrified of backlash and cancellation, trapped in a cycle of pandering. Until Democrats find the backbone to reclaim balance, moderates will keep their distance, leaving the party shackled to fear-driven politics.
Of the power and influence to be able to, usher in socialism?
He definitely has the power and influence to elect J.D. Vance or whoever is the Republican candidate next time. It is a walking commercial for the Republican Party nationally.
I think the Republicans are going to...
When you let the Democrat socialists, and now they're actually calling themselves socialists, when you let them take over a major American city, this is what you get.
Here's Maher's blunt warning. If Democrats put forward Zohran Mamdani as their 2028 standard bearer, they might as well hand victory to J.D. Vance. Maher argues Mamdani's brand of woke socialism may excite Gen Z, but the math doesn't add up. Millennials, Gen X, and baby boomers still dominate the ballot box, and his rhetoric risks alienating them further. Betting the party's future on a far-left figure isn't bold strategy. It's political suicide. A gamble that could all but guarantee a Republican win.
A psycho who all they care about is controlling you. They're very good at diagnosing problems. Yeah. They're very good at figuring out what your weak points are. And that's, I would argue, what a lot of these people are doing.
That's right.
They recognize that if you can focus on these problems, then you can, use that dissatisfaction to gain power.
To me, Mamdani isn't offering leadership. He's exploiting frustration. He seizes on real failures in the system not to fix them, but to weaponize them, stirring up resentment instead of solutions. His rhetoric follows the same tired playbook: point fingers, inflame emotions, but never deliver results. And let's be clear, socialism, no matter how attractively packaged, has never delivered prosperity anywhere it's been tried. Yet young voters, unfamiliar with its history of failure, are swept away by his promises. They hear lofty ideals dressed as progress, but ignore the consequences: economic stagnation, loss of freedoms, and deeper division. Mamdani isn't leading towards solutions. He's selling a fantasy history has already proven dangerous.
A guy like you, who you spent your whole life talking about how government tries to do too much, which it does, and spends too much, and here you have Trump, who is the Republican, who is aggrandizing more power than anybody, as we just talked about. And on the other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mamdani, right? Okay, who's like a straight up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
I want him to win.
You want him to win?
Yeah. I think every 20 years or so.
Wait.
We need every 20 years or so, we need a conspicuous, confined experiment with socialism so we can crack it up.
Some of us have studied history, and we know exactly what socialism brings in its wake. That's why we're not praying for Mamdani to succeed. We're praying Democrats wake up before it's too late. The warning signs are flashing red. His policies may sound appealing in theory, but in practice, they collapse, leaving behind weak economies and broken societies. Promises that stir emotions but weaken freedoms. What's really needed is clarity. Clarity for voters to see past the slogans and recognize the long-term harm beneath Mamdani's platform. If Democrats truly care about survival, they'll stop him before he drags their party.
Slogan used to be, workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains. The new socialist slogan is, trust us, this time it won't be a mess. So, when the post-war Labour government in Britain was about to get started, one of their leading lights was a socialist named Nurian Bevan. He said, what could go wrong? He said, we have a nation bedded on coal, surrounded by fish. It would take an organizational genius to have a shortage of either. In 3 years, they had a shortage of both. That's socialism.
On paper, socialism looks utopian. Everyone shares equally, no one left behind. But in reality, it's a trap. At least capitalism, flawed as it is, rewards hard work, innovation, and determination. You have a chance to build something for yourself and your family. Socialism flips that on its head. The so-called equality becomes nothing more than a smokescreen for elites to hoard power, while ordinary people, no matter how hard they work, are left with scraps. The result isn't fairness, it's stagnation, resentment, and poverty masquerading as progress. History shows it doesn't uplift the masses, it chains them.
Usual suspects on the far left that the saying is, when you're in a hole, stop digging. not keep digging. Talk about doubling down on what got you fucked in the first place. Even the one concession I've heard a few people on the losing side offer, that liberals should stop saying the Trump voters are stupid, comes with a kind of unspoken parentheses. We know they are stupid, just don't say it.
And here's the irony. The left constantly looks down on the right, dismissing conservatives as ignorant, backward, or morally deficient. To them, anyone who supports MAGA or right-leaning ideas must be uneducated or unenlightened. Meanwhile, they crown themselves the enlightened class, smarter, wiser, morally superior. But history proves that arrogance is their downfall. When you underestimate your opponents, you lose. That's the left's blind spot. Their self-congratulation blinds them to the real. Frustrations driving millions of Americans, frustrations no amount of smug posturing can erase.
News for you. They don't have a monopoly on stupid. You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended. And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers' union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke. You just lost a crazy contest to an actual crazy person.
At the end of the day, the problem with the Democratic Party isn't just bad policy. It's arrogance, pandering, and a refusal to learn from history. From Bill Maher's warnings about woke socialists like Mamdani to moderates fleeing the party, the signs are everywhere. Socialism may sound noble on paper, but in practice it empowers elites and traps ordinary people in poverty. Yet blinded by their own moral vanity, the left still believes they're the righteous side while dismissing conservatives as ignorant. That hubris is their undoing. If Democrats keep bowing to the loudest activists instead of standing for balance and reason, they won't just lose voters, they'll lose the future. And on that note, we close today's video. If you enjoyed this commentary, make sure to like and subscribe for more sharp takes ahead.